Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2018 Career Mode, episode number 160 today for the Belgian Grand Prix in Season 8. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. Quite a disastrous race in one way for the team, but blessing in disguise for me in the end at the Hungarian Grand Prix. It means going into this race then, we do lead the Drivers' Championship by a few points to Fernando Alonso, but now Red Bull might be getting in the mix there. They're now the best team on the grid. Renault and ourselves, Alfa Racing, we've stayed put, and Red Bull now are in the driving seat maybe for performance. We've seen a few of you guys in the comments below stating that you think that Gasly might just start to creep into this championship, and you know what, that might be the case, maybe for Carlos Sainz as well, because they have looked pretty damn strong, and obviously if it wasn't for Carlos Sainz's demise on the last lap of the Hungarian Grand Prix, it would have been a 1-2 for Red Bull Honda, so they're looking very, very handy as of late, so we'll have to see about that, and you know, basically relative to the grid, our car is getting a little bit slower compared to what it was at the very start of this season. Of course, that happened in last season, Season 7, as well. But we go into qualifying then, setting our first flying lap there. It was an okay run, but not amazing. Obviously, you can see on the top left we're P8, and we definitely had a lot of time on the table, especially Sector 1. You know, Turn 1 took that very cautiously on that first run. You can see the track is now completely different. It's very gloomy and depressing compared to that sunny picture you saw there on the first run. So the track is a little bit colder. I don't know if that's going to either hinder us or help us. I'm not too sure, but we've gained a lot of time in that first sector at least, so definitely went a bit more aggressive on turns 1. We catch up to Romeo, who thankfully gets out of our way just about there with a tiny bit of a screen freeze on the right hand as we go down the main straight then towards the bus stop chicane, and keeping that time and across the curbings, using them as much as we can, opening DRS, plant the power. We do gain a decent chunk to go. Pole position, provisional pole, Gasly P2, Leclerc P3. I was ecstatic at this point there with only a minute and a bit to go, but then we get to the end of the session and it was pure misery then. Myself and Leclerc push way down the order. Looks like that's where the car is. P6, P7 is the two Renaults banging the front row lockout there. Fernando Alonso, our rival, in pole position. Hamilton second place. Gasly does well on third. And then surprising for me, the two Mercedes cars right up there. Verstappen, HOCKENHEIM, fair play ahead of both of us. So we've got work to do, clearly. I don't know if that's really the simulation glitch again in career mode, or if that genuinely is the pace of our car. I'd like to think our car has a bit more pace than P6 and P7. So going to the race, still cautiously optimistic about this. Belgium is usually quite a fun race in terms of the overtaking opportunities and whatnot. We'll have to see about that, but we won't know until we get there. So let's just go into that. There might even be some rain involved in the race, so we'll really see about that. But let's first of all go to the grid and see if there's any penalties to talk about.
Who doesn't love the Belgian Grand Prix? It's the race, of course, that gave maiden pole positions to the Jordan and Force India teams, with Rubens Barrichello and Giancarlo Fisichella respectively. Jordan, of course, would then go on to better that here in 1998 with their first ever victory. And you can guarantee that something special will always happen at Spa-Francorchamps. But what that something is today is anybody's guess. So here we are once again at Spa-Francorchamps with 19 corners, 9 to the right and 10 to the left, and a lap distance of 4.35 miles. An average lap speed in the dry here is around 145 miles per hour. It's a very quick circuit indeed.
And so with that, let's have a look at the starting grid ahead of this Belgian Grand Prix for Season 8 of my F1 2018 career mode there. On pole position then, our championship rival Fernando Alonso on pole with a front row lockout for Renault. Hamilton in second place. Third place then is Pierre Gasly, the reigning world champion, with Verstappen in P4 in the Mercedes car. Then you got HOCKENHEIM and myself in P6 with Leclerc in P7, Van Dorn P8, then Vettel and Carlos Sainz round out the top 10. Ricciardo P11 alongside Sergei Sorokin, Bottas and Ocon next, with then all Haas row for the following row. Then Brendan Hartley, Lance Stroll, Kimi Raikkonen and Sergio Perez round out the grid for the Belgian Grand Prix. Unfortunately, no penalties for us to help us out with our championship rivals, so we're going to have to do this the hard way. Let's go to the Belgian Grand Prix. Right, so it may be sunny right now, but there is going to be some rain forecast for the end of this Grand Prix. Only one icon there, so I'm not too sure. It might be a case of we've had in previous seasons of Belgium that we've ended a race where it's very, very slippery, but we're still on slick tyres, so we'll see about that. The strategy, though, will be a one-stop, I think, especially with the competition we've got today. I don't think we can even try and attempt a two-stop. I don't think it's going to be worthwhile, so we probably will stick to this one-stop of super softs, 2 mediums, but I might try and go early on the super softs pit stop and come off those early, because the undercut has been very powerful around Spa in previous seasons of this career mode. But let's just get into it then. From P6 on the grid, my teammate P7 to 5 red lights to the Belgium Grand Prix. How can we do today? 5 red lights are out and we're on the way. It's a pretty okay start for us there, and everyone actually gets a pretty decent getaway into turn 1 though. Leclerc with a big old dive bomb there, very characteristic of him in the last couple of seasons, I guess, of this career mode there, and he waltzes up into P4, I think that is nearly, as he goes side by side with Pierre Gasly. Verstappen is ahead of me. We've been able to jump though ahead of Hockenheim. It's side by side up the hill for Leclerc and Gasly. Amazing stuff there. Leclerc very punchy, and so far he's showing me up at the moment as we go down the Kemmel straight. The side by side action for the two Renaults, so it's neck and neck between those two, and neck and neck between Leclerc and Gasly there. Leclerc around the outside, bit of contact made between the Frenchman and the youngster in the other car, and Leclerc spun round. My teammate is, I don't know if he's out of this Grand Prix, but he's been punted out of the top fight of this Grand Prix, and that's such a shame after such a good start and a great stonking getaway. Let's have a look at a replay then. I said, you know, the two Renaults side by side. Leclerc trying to go the long way round. There's already some contact there, but then more contact, and Gasly just spins Leclerc around. But I've got to say, to be fair, that looks a bit more like a racing incident in terms of space. But then, oh my god, another pile-up, another career mode episode, another pile-up there. As we can see, I think 1 or 2 cars maybe went out the Grand Prix there due to that pile-up, because obviously they all stopped because Leclerc was facing the wrong way. But here is the on-board shot, and that's, you know, Leclerc could have got out of that, but if I was him, I would have stuck in as well. So, to be honest, I can't really fault him too much. So that's just unfortunate racing, really. That sometimes does happen. Obviously, we saw that's the famous place where Hamilton and Rosberg came towards at the Belgian Grand Prix in 2014. So, you know, that's a very tricky corner. So Leclerc's going to have to recover in this Grand Prix. He does so already by overtaking one of the Ferrari cars there with some front wing damage. And so he's going to have a long journey of recovery throughout this entire Grand Prix. Meanwhile, for me, lap 3, trying to chase after Gasly then. We're elevated up into P4. So, once again, Leclerc's demise is my, you know, I benefit from it, but it's already a kind of a cheap way of benefiting. Obviously, I'd rather have him right up there. So, at the moment, it's still, I believe, Fernando Alonso in first place, Hamilton second, and Gasly third. I look at my tyre wear there, because the car, honestly, really is not feeling too great. You can see the lock up there on the right front tyre, a little bit eager on the throttle, and then the car gets away from me and really chopping away at the steering wheel to try and control this car. And so, the balance was really off. So, I was getting quite scared that if that's going to be the car I'm driving for the entire Grand Prix, I'm really not going to have any chance of catching up to these two. But these two are fighting a little bit. Hamilton tries to get the better of Alonso, not so, but if these guys can fight a little bit more, please, we can maybe try and catch up and do something there. We can see we're still on the same camera shot just about in P4, but if the car's feeling that bad later on in the Grand Prix, I don't have major high hopes. And meanwhile, as we go down the pecking order there, you can see a Williams in quite a lofty position there. That's, I think, Lance Stroll way up the order behind the Ferrari car, but eventually he's going to get overtaken by Leclerc, as Leclerc has DRS wide open, makes a move round the outside. Lance Stroll, to be fair to him, does a good job at trying to defend and squeeze my teammate out there on the outside curb of turn 1, but he's going to get that move done just before Rouge in the climb up the hill to the Kemmel straight, and now he can try and chase after the second Ferrari of the afternoon. Down the inside he goes of Sebastian Vettel, I think that is, because I think previously he overtook Ocon already. Both Ferraris with a bit of damage to their car after that kind of pile-up that was occurring before the Grand Prix with Leclerc's spin. But we now come on to our POV on lap 5 this is, and we're going to come in for a pit stop 1 or 2 laps earlier than we were set on the default strategy, and that's because on the mini-map you can just about see there Gasly is right up the chuff of the two Renault cars. So I was hoping maybe those three fight enough, maybe I can get a bit of an undercut here, and maybe, just maybe, I can close up enough to try DRS pass, or just try something really, because at the moment I was basically a sitting duck in no man's land. Wasn't catching the 3 up ahead of me, but I wasn't at the same time being caught by the guys behind me, so I had to try something there, going a little bit early on this pit stop. So we come out just ahead of Leclerc, which is pretty depressing for him, of course, because he's obviously not made a pit stop yet, and I'm already ahead of him there, so that's the unfortunate spin coming into play. But around P7, plenty of clean air, and now we push on and try and see what we can do in terms of this outlap. This has to be a very good outlap, but now this safety car has been called out, and that is a pretty shockingly timed safety car for me. For once, I've not got lucky with that, because now everyone ahead of me is going to, obviously, we're all slowing down, we all have to drive at the same pace, and in the basically the pit stop is kind of, you know, weakened essentially in terms of the amount of time people are losing in the pit stop phase. So I'm not too sure if this will benefit me or not. As we go down the main straight, you can see on the top right, I've got a lot of delta time to catch up, because annoyingly it told me to slow down so much, but then I could speed up so much. So I'm desperately trying to go into turn 1 as fast as I can to maybe try and jump, because I saw Hamilton, there he is, and oh, we're so close. We were literally 2 car lengths away from maybe jumping Hamilton. in the pit stop phases. Of course, the only reason really why we actually gained that much time to Hamilton was because Gasly has actually jumped Hamilton, because obviously the two Renaults double stacked. So right now in the pecking order, it is Fernando, Alonso, Gasly in second place, Hamilton third, and myself in fourth as we go green and go for this restart with the safety car right up behind Hamilton, but just can't get the exit on the last corner. They're trying to plant the power down as early as we can. We've actually had a good exit compared to Hockenheim behind me, but Hamilton, that Renault, is just very, very good. We saw in the last episode, Hungary, the Renault cars are really quite amazing, quite OP at acceleration there, and look at that. Hamilton just waltzes away off turn one. I do the same to Hockenheim a little bit, but to be fair, I'm looking back behind me because Hockenheim's actually got some decent speed. The Mercedes car, I believe right now with the upgrades, has the best engine on the grid here. No longer the Mercedes car's too bad in a straight line from previous seasons in career mode. You can see Hockenheim is catching us, and so I'm actually a little bit worried. You know, I don't want to say this is where we're going to end up, but at the moment it's looking quite hard to get away from P4 and try and do anything to break into that podium selection perhaps as we move on to lap 11. Then DRS is enabled. We are closing a little bit on Hamilton though, actually. Visually speaking, we are a little bit closer, and Gasly is keeping Fernando Alonso very honest. So I'm now crossing my fingers. Maybe if Gasly and Hamilton want to try and fight a little bit, perhaps that might invite us in. We have gotten away a little bit from Hockenheim. You can see the mini-map there, so at least there's that. We don't have any more pressure from the German in the Mercedes car behind us. But here we go now. It's actually Gasly on Alonso now for the race lead here. Gasly round the outside, trying to vie for the second win in a row this will be if he can get into P1, because he won the Hungarian Grand Prix after a gift from his teammate having an issue at the end of the Grand Prix last episode. But as it looks right now, Alonso will just about keep that P1 there. Really chops up across Gasly. Gasly P2 remains, and Hamilton P3 gets held up so much. In fact, that we're now in this fight here. So what did I say? Hoping that these guys fight and we can get in the mix, and now we can. We're within DRS and we should be in range. There's no DRS obviously on the back straight around Spa, but we're very good in Sector 2 actually compared to the Renault guys, because the Renault and the Red Bulls, to be fair, looks like they have a lot of advantage in Sector 1 and the kind of, you know, I guess the back end of Sector 3 into the bus stop chicane, but Sector 2 and the run to the bus stop chicane, I think I'm pretty damn decent, so we should have a very good run here with overtake mode on the ERS. Rich mix going there. You can see the slipstream. We're getting it. We're gaining a little bit piece by piece, and so can we size up a move on Lewis Hamilton into the bus stop there, right behind him, lift off a little bit to try and close up as much as he can there. He's going to give us just about enough room on the left-hand side to operate in, so we're going to make a move on the outside to the inside then for the second part of the chicane, and we're up into third place then, but Hamilton will get a great exit. We went a little bit wide on that exit of the last corner, and so Hamilton is on the left. We go defensive to the inside, both with DRS available there, and so we have to try and squeeze him out a little bit. Hamilton takes to the curbing and goes off circuit a little bit, try and get the power down, and he's now tucked up behind us there. We're going to go to the inside, defend a little bit. He's going to be side by side up the hill there. Hamilton with a great move there, neck and neck, absolutely wonderful racing. Hamilton gets back up into P3. We're going to have to tuck him back behind for the Kemmel straight now. We don't have DRS actually, Hamilton does, but the slipstream is so powerful there. We can try and make another move to the inside. Little tiny lock up on the front right as we're desperately trying to find the grip. We're on the inside for the next right-hander. Hamilton's going to have to go the long way around. We can try and squeeze him out. And now surely the next right-hander, it's a little bit off camber. I should have the better racing line. We're going to try and do a bit of a Fernando Alonso v Magnussen from a few years gone by and try and squeeze him out like that very aggressively. We have done so, and we're going to book in that P3 for now, because he will have another chance, I think, as we go on to lap 13. But for now, we're up into P3 in the podium. But look how much time we've lost on the minimap there to Gasly. So I think we really will be fighting probably for maximum P3, I would say, in this Grand Prix as we move on to lap 13. Like I said, Hamilton would have another go as we got up the hill to the Kemmel straight there. He's going to have DRS. We're going to have to try and play this tactically, trying to break the toe, moving to the right-hand side, moving to the right-hand side, moving to the right-hand side off the racing line to break that slipstream there before we can just look behind and judge before we go back to the racing line then to take our position P3. Lock up on the front right tire, a little bit hairy as we go into the right-hand double. We get it done, and we're going to keep this thing on the track in P3 for now. Obviously, there's a long way to go. We're only just about halfway through this Grand Prix, which is pretty crazy because it's felt like quite a long time already as it was at this point of the Grand Prix. And as we go on through the race, it's going to get darker and darker as well, so the rain will be coming down. But before we get to that, we've got a fight for P1 here between Gasly and Fernando Alonso. Great to see an actual fight for P1, and Gasly down the inside. Alonso trying to do his best to defend. They're side by side through the entire section. Really nice choreography going on there in the bus stop chicane, but Gasly will get that. As you can see, the rear flap closes, so the advantage of DRS there very apparent, but now Alonso will get the DRS as we go to the Camel Straight, so Alonso could come back at Gasly, so let's just keep on this as they go through a Rouge, up the hill then to the Camel Straight there, and so Alonso will just have to wait for that activation point and see how good the Renault Works car is against the Red Bull Honda. Here he comes flying past on the right hand side, back on board with Gasly there on the left, Alonso on the inside on the right there, goes a bit deep though, and Gasly might switch back there. I think he has done, yes he has, a great switch back from Gasly there. I thought Alonso looked like he went a little bit wide there on that right hand, did kind of outbroke himself, and so Gasly with this switch to the inside there on the right hand side, he's going to get the move back done, and so for the second time now get back into the lead of the Grand Prix. And so Alonso there with an uncharacteristic mistake fighting Gasly, and he's down to P2, so that might just be the final nail of the coffin maybe, because that Red Bull's look pretty damn strong, and already he's getting away a little bit through Pouon then. Meanwhile, we're still in P3 trying to get away from Lewis Hamilton there, getting a bit of a gap to him, and that gap to Hamilton actually will grow a little bit more than I thought it would, because he starts to have issues with his car. So it was Carlos Sainz, the man you see following him there with the issues last episode, and had to go down the order at the dying stage of the Hungarian Grand Prix. This time though, Sainz is the one that gets a little bit lucky with that, and he's up into P4 now as Hamilton goes down to P5. So if those issues aren't sorted for the Brit, then he might go down even further as the rain also starts to come down a little bit. You can see how overcast and misty it is in a way, and the track is getting just a little bit down there. You can see there I am in P3, Alonso P2, still chasing after and keeping Gasly somewhat honest in P1 for now. But we move on towards lap 18. Fernando Alonso is piling on the pressure there with the purple lap time there. You can see the dots very close together on the mini-map, but you can see maybe just a few little spits of rain here and there on the actual cockpit itself, and also you can just see it's getting darker and darker as we go on. But you can see I'm in no man's land in P3 now. Sainz on the top left there in P4 confirmation there, and so I don't think I'll have an issue in terms of P3. Maybe right at the end, because Sainz obviously in the other Red Bull is pretty damn quick. We'll have to see. But as we move on then, Hamilton is going to go down one more place. Unfortunately for him, he's going to lock up into turn 1. I guess that's probably more due to the fact of the greasy track rather than the issues he's having, but doesn't obviously help the compounding issue. And so now we move on to looking at Sainz and getting an update on that, and you can see he is catching up to us. So that Red Bull is mighty quick, and it's so quick that Gasly has completely dropped Fernando Alonso, and he's in a very comfortable and dominant P1 position now, and Alonso is nowhere near pressurising Gasly as much as he was earlier on in the Grand Prix. And as we move on to the second last lap of the race then, Sainz is right up my chop, and so this is not going to be now an easy P3 anymore. We have to defend our position potentially into the bus stop chicane with the Spaniard coming up like a rocket ship in that Red Bull Honda of his. We go down the back straight towards the Blanchimont and the bus stop, looking behind me constantly, trying to fiddle around with the ERS as well, trying to make sure we don't derate right at the end of the lap as we go defensive to the inside there. Sainz round the outside. We're side by side, a little bit of tire contact there on the left hand side, but we keep it clean on the exit. We can go hot lap mode on the exit as well due to the ERS charge we had left over after doing some good management on the previous straight. And so into turn 1 we're maintaining that P3. We've got one last lap left to go then, and can we keep this podium position? That would be obviously the ultimate damage limitation for us, because Alonso is going to finish ahead of us, but it's a difference of, you know, either 3 or, you know, further points lost to Alonso. So we move on up the hill. Sainz is still very much there like an assassin going around on the left and right. We're going to try and break the toe on the right hand side there, really keeping quite aggressively to the right before going back to the racing line then, and it's an easy does it job on the braking there to keep that P3 in the right hander. And so it will be Pierre Gasly that wins the Belgian Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso in second place. We come home though in that third place, and we're going to do the best job we can at limiting the points damage in the championship.
Thank you for all your hard work out there. That was a strong drive and a good finish. Well done.
So another fantastic victory for Red Bull today. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
Well, the safety car completely changed the race, didn't it? It's hard to say exactly what would have happened without it, but there's no question that they came out of that situation in a good position.
So Alonso's P2, 18 points for him, and myself P3 with 15 points. So we lose 3 points to Alonso there. So I think that probably was the best scenario for us, because clearly Gasly and both Renaults really had way too much pace for us, and Hamilton only went down the order eventually after a bit of an issue on his car with a mechanical issue, because he got overtaken by a lot of cars later on in that race. Obviously Leclerc didn't actually make it out of that Grand Prix. We didn't see that, but actually what happened was under the safety car, he retired out of the Grand Prix. Didn't mention that at the time, but if you were wondering where Leclerc was and all that, that's where he was. He retired there. So for the constructors, Renault get back out ahead of us, only by a few points though, so it's still very, very tight between Renault and Alfa Romeo Racing there. And the Drivers' Championship, it is closing up a little bit there with Alonso's advantage this race there. But all in all, I've got to say that's a pretty decent Belgian Grand Prix, I think. If you take into all the circumstances and the scenario of what happened in that Grand Prix, I think it could have gone a lot worse for us than that. But clearly our car is losing some pace, especially on the straights. I was very surprised how quick that Renault and Red Bull were on the straights there. So that doesn't actually bode well for me next episode, the Italian Grand Prix. That might be quite a tough one at Monza in front of the Italian fans. I think us being an Italian team now, Alfa Romeo Racing, it's not going to be a great homecoming for us really, maybe, but we'll have to see about that. But guys, if you did enjoy the episode, be sure to hit that like button. Let me know your thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, you can subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been Alfa. Home just a day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.